Grand Prix. A massive crowd has descended on Imola. It's a spectacular return to Europe for Formula One. Let's join former world champion Jody Scheckter and Murray Walker.
And good afternoon from Jody and I, and what a glorious afternoon it is, as you can see for yourselves. Blue skies, temperature on the track is now some 29 degrees. Temperature about 22 degrees. You know, there are still some people who say that the World Championship doesn't really begin until it gets to Europe. Well, how very wrong they are. We've had an absolutely marvellous race in Australia, won against expectations by Eddie Irvine for Ferrari. We had a momentous race in Brazil. Yes, Mika Häkkinen may have won and Michael Schumacher may have been second. That was expected perhaps, but not the way they did it. And here we are in Italy with this passionate following that you've heard so much about in ideal weather conditions, with Ferrari right on the pace. The Tifosi are sitting here agog, nearly 200,000 of them here at Imola, and they have every reason to be full of excitement and expectation, because the dominant McLarens may be on the front row of the grid, with Mika Häkkinen in his 13th career pole position, his third of the year for 3 races, and David Coulthard just 22 thousandths of a second behind him. But in a situation where Michael Schumacher in Australia on the grid had qualified 1.3 seconds slower than pole position Mika Häkkinen, and in Brazil, the next race 3 weeks ago, it was still a mammoth 1 second, which is light years in Formula One timing. Here at Imola, he's got it down to 0.2 of a second, and that is neither here nor there, in a race which is going to be dominated by strategy. Are they going to have one stop? Are they going to stop twice for tyres, as they did in general last year? Or are there even going to be some people who turn this event into 3 sprints and 3 stops? Very unlikely, but not impossible. And we've got all sorts of strange things behind them on the grid. The BAR team, the biggest budget in the history of Formula One. They've spent it very wisely on the right facilities, the right car builders, and the right drivers, in the form particularly of Jacques Villeneuve. And after a pretty torrid time in Brazil and in Australia, he's plonked the BAR into 5th position on the grid, less than a second slower than Mika Häkkinen, and that is a very considerable achievement. Rubens Barrichello, you can see the white Stewart more or less in the centre of your picture now. He's in 6th position on the grid, and that is a terrific performance. Incidentally, Ford have announced today that they are, at the end of this year, withdrawing all support from all teams except the Stewart team. That means that the Minardi team is going to have to look elsewhere for power next year. But it's an indication of how seriously the mighty Ford empire is taking Formula One. Mercedes-Benz, power McLaren. Ferrari, power Ferrari. Peugeot, power Prost. And now, as you can see for yourselves, it's changing all the time, with Ford just concentrating on Stewart. Well, David Coulthard, Jody, I think he really is up against it. Winner last year from pole position. He's yet to score points, and yet again, for the 3rd race in succession, Mika is ahead of him on the grid.
Yes, but I think what he said was right. He was quicker, really, in practice. He didn't get the full lap in. I could see on the monitor here the purple intermediate times, which means he's fastest in that sector. So I think he's feeling very good.
Well, he's got to get past Mika Häkkinen. David Coulthard is a demon starter. He's famous for the way that he can shoot the McLaren Mercedes out from his grid position as though it was fired from a gun. He'll need to do that today, because Mika Häkkinen is no slouch either, nor is Michael Schumacher. And let us not forget, as Jean Todt, the Ferrari sport director, looks at the grid, that Eddie Irvine is right up there, 4th on the grid, the winner in Australia, on softer tyres than the others, which may well affect strategy. Away they go on the formation lap, which gives us a good opportunity to look at Imola. From here up to the Tamburello, where they put in a new chicane after the tragic death of Ayrton Senna in 1994. Accelerate up to 175 miles an hour up to the second new chicane. That's the Villeneuve chicane, which is another left-right, like the Tamburello chicane. There it is. Then up to Tosa, one of the slowest corners on the course, second gear, 55 miles an hour. And the Imola circuit, which measures 3.06 miles long, starts to climb. Look at the crowd in their traditional positions on the banks there. As I said earlier on, nearly 200,000 of them. Up to the Piratella, where they swing left at over 100 miles an hour, and start to drop down towards the Acqua Minerale, a double right-hander. Very, very fast approach at about 160 miles an hour. There it is. That's where Riccardo Patrese went out in the lead in the Brabham years ago, an Italian driver, and the crowd erupted with delight because although an Italian driver was out, it meant a Ferrari was going to win, and that's what matters here. Down from the Acqua Minerale to the Variante Alta. They climb and then swing right, swing left, start dropping down again to the Rivazza. And Jody, it's the responsibility of the lead driver to lead them up to the grid.
Right, and he's trying to do what everybody else doesn't want him to do, either go slowly or quickly. But Murray, you were talking about the pit stops. I believe under calculation, 3 pit stops is theoretically the quickest way to get through the Grand Prix. Although I think you're right, I don't think we'll see that, but possibly somebody on the soft tyres, Irvine on the soft tyres, could choose something as tricky as 3 stops.
Well, there's only 4 drivers on the hard tyres, and significantly, it's the 2 McLarens, Mika Häkkinen in pole position, David Coulthard in second position on the grid, Michael Schumacher, who is in 3rd position, and way down on the grid, very poor performance as far as he's concerned, Giancarlo Fisichella in the Benetton, 16th. So there is Häkkinen. Now watch them all peel off. Not them all, there's Coulthard peeling off, the ones that have to go to the right-hand side of the grid. That's Pedro Diniz, behind him Fisichella, there is Wurz, Pedro De La Rosa in the arrows. We're riding with Fisichella now as he comes into position behind Jarno Trulli in the Prost with its Peugeot engine. He's 16th on the grid. So there in the background, the safety car, which has got Professor Sid Watkins, the FIA's doctor and surgeon in it. And you watch for the lights. They come on one at a time. When all 5 go out, there's a programmed pause, and the San Marino Grand Prix is go! Good start by Mika Häkkinen. Frentzen dives out from the pack. Villeneuve has stalled. Jacques Villeneuve has stalled from 5th position on the grid. Mika Häkkinen leads. David Coulthard is in 2nd place. Then the 2 Ferraris. There is a furious Jacques Villeneuve. He's gone down and off goes, it looked to me like Olivier Panis. No, it's Trulli. It's Jarno Trulli in the Prost. So his race is over already. And now Schumacher, realising that Mika Häkkinen is pulling away from him, is pushing very hard at David Coulthard. Mika Häkkinen realises that with a clear track in front of him, this is a golden opportunity to build up that vital gap that he needs. It's a long race, 62 laps. Häkkinen, Coulthard, Schumacher, Irvine, Barrichello is in 5th position. Heinz Harald Frentzen has come up to 6th position on the grid. He's moved up because of Jacques Villeneuve's problem, but already Mika Häkkinen is starting to ease away. Yes,
and it looks like Coulthard settled down and starting to pull away as well. He obviously wasn't feeling very comfortable in the first few corners, and Michael was all over him. So, but it looks like it's settling down.
Well, down to the Rivazza for the first time. And you look briefly there at Sandro Zanardi, Alex Zanardi, and Ralf Schumacher. But here is Häkkinen flinging the McLaren round the corners. Irvine, Barrichello, Frentzen, Ralf Schumacher, Damon Hill is in 8th position as he goes through. Unfortunately, they all seem to have completed that first lap, with the exception of Jacques Villeneuve. And Jarno Trulli, of course, who went out on the very first lap of 62 here in Italy. Now, temperatures, here's a replay of the start. Let's see what happens. You can see Jacques Villeneuve stalled there, and it was an absolute miracle that nobody hit him.
Yeah, it's so dangerous when somebody stalls on the grid, because you can't really see them when you're one behind. It's too low, and it's very dangerous.
Well, he will be very, very unhappy indeed. Jarno Trulli has been making some critical comments about the Prost team, which I don't think have endeared him to the management. He's got some justification because the car is not what he wanted it to be, but it's a new team and it's Prost as opposed to Ligier format, and it is getting better all the time. But look at this. Now, were the McLaren sandbagging all the time? Because at the end of the first lap, Mika Häkkinen led David Coulthard by 1.7 seconds. He led Michael Schumacher by 2.8. This is Fisichella, replay, and he goes down the right-hand side. Now, now we should see what happened to Jarno Trulli as they turn into the Tamburello, but we didn't. We rejoin at the Traguardo, the end of the lap. Now, the previous lap, Michael Schumacher was a second behind David Coulthard. And just to demonstrate how important a race victory to him is there, Mika Häkkinen has just made the fastest lap of the race so far. That was his second, his first flying lap, of course. 1 minute 30.225 compared with the fastest lap we have ever had here at Imola. Heinz-Harald Frentzen, 125.5 in the Williams, but it was a very different motor car in those days. Well, I have to say, even at this early stage of the race, it looks as though the Ferrari promise was a false one, or that McLaren had got something up their sleeves all the time.
Right, it certainly looks like they had something up their sleeves, because certainly in practice it looked like Ferrari were really catching up, but this is bigger domination than we've seen.
Yeah, 2.2 seconds now. What we never know, of course, at this stage of the race, Jody, is what the strategies are going to be. I mean, it could hypothetically be, that Mika Häkkinen is going to have a three-stop race, and therefore he's going as fast as he possibly can to build up time. I don't believe for one moment that that is the case, but it could be that he's on 2 stops and Michael Schumacher on 1 stop, in which case, with a heavier fuel load, the Ferrari could be going slower. I think I'm grasping at straws for Ferrari lovers, but still.
Yes, I mean, the consensus was it was going to be a 2-stop race for most of the people. Something very, if they wanted to really stretch it and do 3 stops, it could be slightly quicker, but not enough to really take the chance.
Well, as we watch the 2 McLaren drivers grasping this race by the throat, and Mika Häkkinen particularly, I can tell you that Jacques Villeneuve did not stall his Supertech V10 engine at the start of the race. He had a gear selection problem, is the message that we've been given, in which case he will not be at all happy. But as now the race in this early stage, with Mika Häkkinen leading, David Coulthard, Michael Schumacher, Eddie Irvine, Rubens Barrichello and Frentzen in 6th position, James Allen has news on race strategy.
Yes, I'm down in the McLaren garage, Marino. There's a terrific atmosphere of expectation down here. The mechanics all very keyed up, everyone very keen, of course, to win this race on Ferrari's home turf. Looks to me as though Mika Häkkinen is going with a 2-stop strategy, as lap times suggest that. But of course, if you were Michael Schumacher, you wouldn't want to run the risk of starting on 2 stops with the possibility that either Coulthard or Häkkinen might start on 1. If you were stuck behind them at the start, you'd be finished. So if you're hedging your bets, and I spoke to a number of the strategists from the other teams, I said, what would you do if you were running Michael Schumacher here today? They said, I'd start him on 1 stop, because McLaren may well split their strategies. 1 car on 1 stop, 1 on 2 stops. As we said before in the introduction, 1 stop is a bit of a gamble on the brakes, but the difference in the weight is 815 kilos, about half a second a lap. It looks to me at the moment, my guess at the moment, is Schumacher and Coulthard are 1 stopping, Häkkinen 2.
Well, time will tell. Thanks for that, James. Very useful indeed. And as I said, Ferrari certainly at the present moment seem to need some straws to clutch at, because Michael Schumacher is now 3 seconds behind Coulthard and 6.3 seconds behind the incredible Flying Finn, as he signs himself, Mika Häkkinen. As we look now at Olivier Panis, and Panis is being chased by Tora Takagi in the There he is, there's Takagi in the arrows behind Mika Salo. Now Salo started down in 17th position on the grid, and he's fought his way up to, currently in 14th place. So Mika, who was going extremely well in practicing, and this is his first drive in the BAR. Here we are, replay. And Olivier Panis dives through on the inside and takes Mika Salo, who is followed by Tora Takagi. Oh, look at the size of that crowd, absolutely mammoth. We're on lap 5 in this long 62-lap race. The race is going to last about an hour and 40 minutes. Now, Mika Häkkinen goes through. His lead over Coulthard was 3.2 seconds. It's now 4.2 seconds. And if David Coulthard was a worried man before, and he's been going round the whole Imola meeting with people saying to him, are you going to do it this time? And him saying, I'm very confident. You felt he was whistling in the wind a bit. He must be even more worried now.
Not as worried as old Michael. He's it's not even a race. I mean, he's 1 second a lap consistently slower than Mika. I think it's a surprise, probably for everybody except McLaren's.
Louise Goodman is with Jacques Villeneuve.
Jacques, a gear selection problem, I understand. Can you confirm that?
I have no idea what happened. All I know is that I couldn't go anywhere.
Dreadfully disappointing for you, but still so many positive things to take away from this race, I presume.
Well, we wanted to finish a race to see if the car could last, so that's not positive at all. We've been quick, but that's what we were expecting since the beginning of the season. We just had it a little bit late, and to finally be qualified 5th and have good chances in the race, it's very frustrating to not even take the start.
Well, back in the race, Pedro de la Rosa there, spinning the arrows, and out of the race has gone one of the Benettons with a wheel off. I just saw that it was a Benetton. Which one it was? It's Wurz. It's Alex Wurz. Now there you can see Pedro de la Rosa. He was battling with Alex Wurz, who's been. There's a replay. Now look, there is Tora Takagi. Behind him, you see the spinning Benetton going off to the left, and De La Rosa's arrows stationary in the middle of the circuit. Now that is the Tosa. That's the 55 mile an hour. Lucky that wheel didn't hit anybody. It's an indication, incidentally, again, that the tethers, which are new to Formula One this year and are supposed to stop wheels from coming off, look as though they need to be yet stronger. They're designed to stand 5 tons, but obviously the force was even greater than that. You saw Alex Wurz walking in, thumbs up, I'm okay, he was saying. But now that means already we have 4 retirements. Jacques Villeneuve out, Jarno Trulli is out, Alexander Wurz is out, and Pedro de la Rosa is a questionable quantity.
Yeah, it was very difficult to see what happened there. The camera, unfortunately, didn't pick it up, but it looked like they were having a bit of a tangle breaking into the corner.
Well, we're on lap 7 now. Mika Häkkinen, 4.7 seconds ahead of David Coulthard, who is 3 seconds ahead of the man you are watching, Michael Schumacher. Well, there was never any doubt in anybody's mind about the fact that the Adrian Newey designed, or the Adrian Newey team designed, that McLaren was faster than the Ferrari. It looked, as I said earlier on, as though Ferrari had dramatically closed the gap. But, my goodness, this is an incredible Mika Häkkinen. He's leaving everybody absolutely standing. He didn't succeed in this race last year. He had a gearbox problem, and David Coulthard, his teammate, won it. But Mika Häkkinen has only got one problem now, potential problem, and that is reliability. It looks, even this early in the race, as though nothing can stop him. But the McLarens have not been as reliable as they would have hoped. Neither of them finished in Australia. David Coulthard failed to finish in Brazil, although admittedly Mika Häkkinen won the race. But if Häkkinen keeps this up, he's now 5 seconds ahead of Coulthard, 8 seconds ahead of Schumacher. There's De La Rosa spinning again the arrows. That was a replay of him spinning the arrows at Tosa. Now the top 10 in the San Marino Grand Prix on lap 8 out of 62. as you watch the seemingly unbeatable here. Mika Häkkinen leading by 5.4 seconds. Davy Coulthard follows him with Michael Schumacher in a poor third position in comparison with his hopes. That is Alex Wurtz's Benetton, minus wheel, being carried in. And in fourth position, it's Eddie Irvine. He's nearly 15 seconds behind Häkkinen now, who's not only flying, but going faster and faster.
Yeah. It looks like there must be some different strategy between Coulthard and Häkkinen. I'm looking at the sector times, and Häkkinen is faster than him nearly everywhere, down the straight as well. So I can't see, unless he's having a bit of a problem. Maybe they are on a different strategy.
Well, Eddie Irvine is fourth. Rubens Barrichello is in fifth position. Excellent in the Stewart as a result of Villeneuve going out. Barrichello has gained a place. Then there's Heinz-Farrell Frentzen. There he is, followed by Ralph Schumacher and Damon Hill there in eighth position. Right up behind him is Jean Alesi, the French Sicilian in the Sauber. Now the Sauber seems to be, there it is, seems to be going much better in the race in comparison with practice and qualifying. Alesi was complaining about an awful lot of oversteer. Behind him is Johnny Herbert, who started way down. He's in 10th position at the present moment, and Herbert has fought his way up through the field in hopefully a reliable Stewart Ford. He blew an engine in the warm-up this morning, and they've changed it, and now we're riding with Alesi, and in front of us is Damon Hill out of the Variante Alta. What's the approach to Rivazza like racing-wise, Jody?
Sorry, Maria, it wasn't there when I was there. That's one of the new corners.
Here we are, out of the double left-hander at the Rivazza, up to the Variante Bassa, the right-hander, and Alesi pushing Damon Hill very hard indeed. Incidentally, while we're watching Damon Hill, you know that his beard is off. I'll tell you the real reason. His wife Georgie said to him, "I haven't kissed you properly for 6 weeks, Damon," and the beard came off this morning. So, there we are, Damon Hill, world champion 1996, and he won't be terribly pleased with this. He qualified in 8th position, he's only in 8th position, and remember that Villeneuve, who started ahead of him, is out of the race, so that means to say that from that point of view, Damon could be regarded as being in 9th position. But ahead of him, as he goes up from the Tosa to the Piratella, ahead of Damon Hill is Ralph Schumacher. We're on lap 10, which already is 1/6 distance.
We should see people coming in from about lap 18, unless they're on a three pit stops. So I think that's when the race will start developing into maybe a different type of race, although Mika still looks so dominant, doing quickest times in sectors all the time. He's just done the quickest lap time again.
Well, here we are, the first left-hander of the Rivazza, the second one, which is turn 14 in this 17-corner lap. And Alesi is right in the slipstream of Damon Hill. He can't do anything about it, because these cars, the performance is virtually identical. The drivers are the best there are in the world, and so if you're tight up behind a car whose performance is virtually the same as yours, and it's driven by a driver who's as good as you are, you've got to try and force him into making a mistake, which is what Michael Schumacher will be trying to do while we go to a break. 14 seconds. That is Mika Häkkinen. This is not so much a motor race as a Grand Prix demonstration at the present moment. And the demonstrators at the front are Mika Häkkinen, that you are looking at in the McLaren Mercedes, and his teammate, to a lesser extent, David Coulthard. Now, our belief in the commentary box here is that Mika Häkkinen is going to be on a two-stop strategy, which makes sense. He would be driving the car with a lighter fuel load and therefore able to go even faster in comparison to Michael Schumacher than he went yesterday, because the gap between Schumacher and Häkkinen, who were respectively third and first on the starting grid, was only 0.2 of a second. Well, now on lap 13, Häkkinen leads Schumacher by 13 seconds, so he's built up a lead of a second a lap. Now he's getting pretty close to a situation where he could come in, stop, take on 4 tyres and wheels and refuel and still get out in the lead. Not yet, not yet. He needs an absolute minimum of a 20-second lead. But Jody was hypothesising that they'd start coming in round about lap 16. It's my personal view, that's a bit early. But last year they were coming in on round about laps 26 and 44 on two-stop strategies. But it's not going to be very long either way, as we look now at David Coulthard, who leads Michael Schumacher by just under 5 seconds. In which case you could regard David Coulthard as a bit of a spoiler if he's on a one-stop strategy.
Yes, I mean, I think if they are, they're just crossing their bets. I think the only... could Mika be on a 3-stop strategy? I wouldn't think they would take such a chance, but the way he's going is incredible. He's really a consistent 1 second a lap faster than Michael, and nearly a half a second quicker than David. So it's a bit puzzling. Maybe he has got that gap, I don't know.
Well, anyway, as you watch Ralph Schumacher, Damon Hill and Jorna Lacey battling for 7th place, back again to James Allen in the pit lane.
Well, Murray, as Jody was just saying, this really is a race for the strategists. I've toddled along now to the Ferrari garage and went up to their genial public relations man, Claudio Barrow, to see if I could get any information from him. But of course, as always in Formula One, they don't make it easy for you, not giving anything away. But what I can tell you is that last year Michael Schumacher started the race with 75 kilos of fuel on board. He stopped on lap 26 there. He'd only need an extra 15 kilos of fuel to go through to lap 33, which is the midpoint if you're stopping once. But I can tell you that Ferrari really are concerned with the effect of the extra weight that would have on the brakes. Now, looking at the times at the moment, 129.222 for Häkkinen in that last lap. They're still some way off the 128.6 we saw the fastest this morning by Coulthard in the warm-up. I think you could probably rule out a 3-stopper, and I'm still in my belief that Häkkinen stopping twice, Coulthard and Schumacher stopping once.
You may be right, James, but whatever, David Coulthard there is now under pressure from Michael Schumacher, no doubt about it. The gap between the two of them, the McLaren there and the Ferrari in the background, has come down to just over 3 seconds from 4.4 seconds, and it's been heightened by the fact that David lost a little time coming out of the Tosa. He put his right rear wheel just over the concrete rumble strip onto the grass, slipped a bit, and that will have enabled Michael Schumacher to close up a little. Not a lot, but David likes this circuit, fancied himself very much here after his victory last year. He's not in the race at the present moment compared with Häkkinen, but the strategy could change the whole thing. If Häkkinen is coming in twice and David is coming in once, it's going to be a very tight finish to the San Marino Grand Prix. Lap 16 out of 62, and Mika Häkkinen has gone faster again. He's really forcing to build up a lead. He's just gone round in 129.145, which is faster than his fastest lap and the fastest lap last year. 0.2 of a second faster. It's not a new lap record, because Heinz-Harald Frenzen's time in the Williams in 1997 was in a car on slick tyres and suspension which suited racing better than the narrow cars of today. But nevertheless, it gives you an indication of how incredibly quick Häkkinen is going. Yes,
I mean, you've got to think he's on a different strategy, on a 2-stop or a 3-stop strategy, or different to David and Michael.
Well, here is our first, and I'm sure, planned pit stop. Jody, you were absolutely right. You said they would start round about lap 16, and this is lap 16. My hat is taken off to you. 10.4 seconds for Jean Alesi, who will have taken on quite a fuel load, of course, but he's obviously on a two-stop strategy. And there is Mika Häkkinen. Now he's already up with Marc Genet, who is running 18th and last on the track. So after 16 laps, Mika Häkkinen, the leader, is coming up to lap the Spaniard Marc Genet in the Minardi in his first season of Formula One racing. An enormous gap. There was some 4.5 seconds a lap difference between them in qualifying. And he's obviously holding Mika Häkkinen up a bit at the moment, but Häkkinen bobs out from behind his slipstream. Left, right, back again, clear track. Lovely. And his next target is the other Minardi of Luca Badoa, running 17th. And the race order on lap 17, as you watch race leader Mika Häkkinen, is David Coulthard is second, 13 seconds behind him. Michael Schumacher, 17 seconds behind Häkkinen. Fourth is Eddie Irvine, Ferrari, 25 seconds down. Fifth is Rubens Barrichello, 33 seconds down. You are watching Fisichella and Takagi. Takagi in the arrows, nearly losing it. And in sixth position behind Barrichello, Heinz Harald Frentzen, last man in the points. Ralf Schumacher in the Williams is seventh, Damon Hill is eighth, Johnny Herbert ninth in the Stewart. And that's a very good performance because Johnny started in 12th position. He started, and Louise Goodman has Alex Wurz.
Alex, from the pictures that we had, it was quite difficult to see what happened. What can you tell us?
I can tell you that a collision with Pedro de la Rosa. Pedro was in front of me due to the problems with Jacques Villeneuve from the start.
Off goes Mika Häkkinen. Off goes Mika Häkkinen out of the race. Mika Häkkinen, the race leader, loses the McLaren and slam bang into the wall. He was going too fast, pushing, and the Finn is out. No points at Imola, no points for his McLaren. David Coulthard leads. Here's a replay. Up onto the curb, onto the grass, loses traction, into the wall, out of the race. Wow, this transforms things. Well, thank heavens, Mika is perfectly all right. Yet another indication of how safe the cars are these days.
Yes, it looked like, I mean, he was pushing it so much, as you said. Overconfidence, I'm not sure. Maybe a lack of concentration. But he went just that little bit much. The back came out, he overcorrected and went straight forward into the wall. That's what happens, I suppose.
Well, only no McLarens finished in Melbourne, only one McLaren finished in Brazil, only one at best is going to finish here in Italy, and of course the crowd has gone absolutely mad because they have seen the chance for their man, Michael Schumacher, in their car, Ferrari, to win this race. He is some 4 seconds behind David Coulthard, and we presume that they are on the same strategy as you look at the helmet of Tora Takagi in the arrows. Here's a replay. Let's see what happened to Mika Häkkinen.
Well, you couldn't see on that picture so much, but the picture before, the replay before, he got his rear wheel a little bit too much over. As I said, overcorrected and went straight into the wall. But you were saying, Murray, he wasn't hurt. I can assure you the pain he's feeling inside is a lot worse than the pain he would have felt on the outside from some little injury.
Yeah, maybe no physical pain, but you're right, an enormous amount of mental pain, because Mika Häkkinen is on 10 World Championship points at the present moment. His rival, Michael Schumacher, is on 6. You see him pricking his neck there. He would have taken a tremendous thump, because even though the helmets are much lighter these days, it would have given him a real bang. He's right in front of me as I talk to you, walking sadly back. He needs to get off the track as quickly as he possibly can behind a protective wall. He went off, someone else could do the same thing. But now here is the man on whom McLaren's hopes really depend in this race, David Coulthard, last year's pole position holder, last year's winner, and there is Michael Schumacher pushing. He's on a charge. Now He's got to get past Takagi. Takagi's a mobile chicane at the present moment, and Michael Schumacher dives through on the inside of him. Takagi moves over. Now, the gap is coming down from 4.4 seconds to 3.9 seconds to 3.7 seconds. The San Marino Grand Prix is on, and Eddie Irvine moves up into third position. Ferrari second and third. McLaren leads. Stewart, in the form of Rubens Barrichello, have a man in fourth place. And Jordan, in the form of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, have the fifth runner. Ralf Schumacher in the Williams is sixth, and Damon Hill is just out of the points in seventh place, ahead of Johnny Herbert. So, David Coulthard leads, Eddie Irvine is third, Damon Hill is seventh, and Johnny Herbert is eighth. And thank heavens, Mika Hakkinen is okay. What sort of pressures is David Coulthard under now?
Well, probably the pressure that he likes. You know, now he's where he wanted to be, in the lead. He's got to pull it off for the team. Michael obviously has got a new lease of life, because he knows now that he's capable certainly of winning the race. I think with Mika there, he had no chance at all.
Well, even if he doesn't win the race, even if he finishes second, that's 6 World Championship points, which will put him ahead of Mika Hakkinen. And everybody, including me, keeps on saying how incredibly quick the Ferraris are. But as a lot of other people rightly point out, they may be quick, but they are not leading either championship. James Allen has news.
Murray, don't you just love Grand Prix racing? As soon as you think it's becoming processional, something happens, turns the whole thing on its head, and the sport reinvents itself. This really is a close race. These guys are definitely on the same strategy. But just in case Mika Hakkinen is feeling too bad, he should consult himself with the fact that back in 1993 in qualifying, the late, great Ayrton Senna did exactly the same thing. Lost it out of that chicane, spun it backwards in a McLaren. So he's in good company there.
Yep, and Michael Schumacher is going through this field like a hot knife through butter, and look, you can visually see that he is closing up on David Coulthard, race leader. He went past Marc Genet in the Minardi as though he was standing still. And now Coulthard, Schumacher, Irvine, Barrichello, Frentzen, Schumacher, Ralf are the top 6. Damon Hill still there. Schumacher is catching Coulthard. Eddie Irvine is actually catching Michael Schumacher. The gap between them is 9 seconds, but it is diminishing. And that could be an indication of the fact that they are on different strategies, or the fact that Michael Schumacher is on hard compound Bridgestones and Eddie Irvine is on a softer compound Bridgestone. They'll both last the race, no problem there. It's just a question of which is more suitable for the heat conditions that apply today. And it is pretty hot, because the track temperature now is 30 degrees. And the crowd there on the Rivazza bank are silent but enormously excited. 3.8 seconds between Coulthard, race leader. Michael Schumacher, the winner in 1994 for Benetton. Second last year, second the year before. There is Marc Genet and Takagi nearly losing. I'm not at all sure he didn't actually lose the arrows. If he got it back into shape, he did very well indeed. Well, we've got 2 very experienced chaps, Jody, because David Coulthard is in his 77th Grand Prix. Mika Hakkinen in his 120th. But whilst Michael Schumacher is closing up on David Coulthard, we're going to take a very quick break. Irvine in third position in the Ferrari, coming up to lap Tora Takagi's Arrows and Marc Genet's Minardi. Now, they're busy with each other. They won't be too conscious of the fact that Eddie Irvine is behind them. And Irvine needs to get past them, and Takagi is attacked on the inside, and oh, nearly, and again he's gone off. Well, that's one less for Eddie Irvine to worry about. And Marc Genet slows up and lets the Ferrari through. That could have been very, very difficult indeed for Eddie Irvine.
I think you were dead right. They were obviously busy with something else and hadn't seen Eddie behind them, but I suppose it's an effective way of passing them.
It certainly worked, but that was what happened when Jean-Louis Schlesser hit Ayrton Senna at Monza. He went across the chicane and clouted the McLaren very hard indeed, and it nearly happened to Eddie Irvine. He's lost time there, of course, but he's comfortably ahead of Rubens Barrichello, who is in fourth position, as we rejoin race leader David Coulthard, exiting the second Rivazza, coming up to the Variante Bassa, down to the Traguardo, the left and right, which completes the lap. The gap on the previous lap was 3.3 seconds.
And it looks like Michael is really starting to push now, because his times are coming down and down. He's been quicker than David in the last two laps. He's just done nearly the identical time, so it's very, very close. As I said earlier, I think they're really pushing now. The pit stop is important if they're going to gain a position on the track.
Well, this is all very bad news for McLaren, of course, because although David Coulthard is leading the race, there's the vital Constructors' Championship. And again, Ferrari are demonstrating reliability as into the pit lane comes the steward. Now, is it Rubens Barrichello or is it Johnny Herbert? It's Rubens Barrichello. He's coming in from fifth position. He was only 6.7 seconds ahead of Frentzen, so Frentzen will have gone through and taken the pace, as Fisichella with Pedro Diniz behind him, and they are Lacey behind him, my apologies. They are 11th and 12th, exit the Traguardo. Alex Zanardi in the Williams, and he is only in 10th position. Not a good race for him. Back again with John Alesi, 12th position, chasing, and the sole BAR upholding the new team's honour. Mika Salo, it's his first race in the car, ex-Arrows driver last year. He was released, as they put it, by the Arrows team, missed the Australian-Brazilian Grand Prix, has rejoined because Ricardo Zonta, the Brazilian, hurt his foot in practice for the Brazilian Grand Prix, and Mika Salo has been proving what a very fine driver he is.
Coulthard has just done the quickest lap that he's done. Michael was slightly slower that lap, so it's getting down to where they're getting ready for a pit stop, and they want to gain as much time as they can so they don't lose a position on the track.
Well, now we're at the Variante Alta, right, left, dropping down to the Rivazza, riding with Jean Alesi, chasing Fisichella, 180 miles an hour at this point. There's right, and then down through the gears to second gear to a maximum of about 60 miles an hour at the apex. And really get some lock on there. That's how quick the driver's reflexes have to be in Formula One. Marc Genet, into the pits comes the Sauber of Pedro Diniz. Diniz is in an excellent ninth position, ahead of his teammate John Alesi, who's reckoned rightly so to be one of the quicker men in Formula 3. We're on lap 26. David Coulthard has yet to stop. Michael Schumacher has yet to stop. The gap is 3.4 seconds, or was. Here is the leader into his 27th lap. 3.4 seconds. Schumacher continues to inch up on the McLaren ahead of him, and the positions could all be changed when they come into the pits for their first, never mind their second stops.
I think the thing now is which one can stay out the longest, so they can get a little bit of an edge, and are they faster towards the end?
Now, Louise Goodman's got Mika Hakkinen.
I have got Mika Hakkinen with me. Mika, you were pushing very hard at the beginning of that race. Did you push just a bit too hard?
Well, obvious question. obvious question what the people normally ask. Was it your mistake or was it the car mistake? With racing drivers, we never said it was our fault. But I think this time it was, I was just pushing the car on the limit, like I said. And I was on the curb, coming out of the corner. And just where the rear tires dropped off the curb, they spun the car around. And there's no way I could have handled the machine. It just slid on the wall.
Big difference in pace between you and David. Was that down to strategy, or were you just going for it?
I can tell you that maybe tomorrow.
Thank you, Mika.
He's told us already. He's told us already. He's told us, in effect, that he was on a two-stop strategy and David Coulthard was on a one-stop strategy. Well,
in my day, when you came out the car, they said, "Stupid boy," after you've done something like that.
Well, he'll be kicking himself, no doubt about that. We're on lap 27, getting up towards half distance already in the San Marino Grand Prix, with Coulthard and Schumacher both yet to stop. There's David. And Schumacher is some 3.3 seconds behind him now. There he is in the background. I was talking about the effect of the Constructors' Championship. Well, if David Coulthard wins this race, he will be on 10 points. And we're looking at a Lacey diving through inside Fisichella. And that is an indication of how badly the Benetton is handling compared with the way they'd like it to handle.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's strange. Early on, when it seemed like everybody was leaving Benetton, and they still came back being competitive, and I couldn't understand that, because they obviously had depth of engineering, but yeah, I think it shows, you know, when you lose your good people, you really can't keep the car in front all the time.
Well, Damon Hill is in the top 6 now. Rubens Barrichello has been in to make his pit stop and has lost time. Damon Hill took advantage of that, moved up into the top 6, but he has yet to stop. Now, I will get this point out about the Constructors' Championship. At the moment, Ferrari are on 10 World Championship points, with Schumacher second and Irvine third. McLaren the same, with Coulthard leading the race. But it would mean that if they stay where they are now, Ferrari will still be leading the Constructors' Championship by 8 vital points at the end of this race. Remember what Eddie Irvine said about putting money on himself still leading the Drivers' Championship at the end of this race. Well, he's on 4 World Championship points at the moment, which would give him 16 in all. And unless Michael Schumacher wins this race, and even if he does, they would be equal. It looks as though Eddie Irvine could well be right. Lap 29, Coulthard leads. There he is on the right side of your screen. Behind him in the Scarlet Ferrari, climbing out from the Tosa. That man, Michael Schumacher, 34 laps left. Eddie Irvine is 19 seconds behind Schumacher. Into the pits comes Ralph Schumacher in the Williams from 4th place. Oh, nice clean stop. 8.8 seconds. And of course the times are coming down because they're taking on less fuel now. And Ferrari are getting ready for Eddie Irvine, I can tell you that. And Damon Hill will now be up into 4th position temporarily. And the gap now is between Coulthard there and Michael Schumacher, you will see in a moment. There he is, 3 seconds, or was. I think it's going to be even closer. And Deniz is in front of Coulthard, and the gap is 2.5 seconds.
And Michael is going quicker in every sector all the time. He's obviously really trying to get right up to, before the pit stop, right up to David.
Now, it's absolutely essential for Deniz to move over and let Coulthard through, as into the pits comes Eddie Irvine from 3rd position. And out of the race goes Schumacher. Ralph Schumacher, that is, of course, in the Williams. And out of the pits goes Eddie Irvine. And he should just about, yes, he's all right, because Damon Hill was some 23 seconds behind him. I think that Irvine is going to rejoin the race, still in 3rd position. And still, David Coulthard has not got past Pedro Deniz into the pits. The Jordan. Frenson's already been in. Damon Hill comes in from 4th position, 7.6 seconds. That's a nice, quick, clean stop. Lap 30. 62-lap race. They're on the half-distance lap now, and look at Michael Schumacher. He's right up close now. He can almost see the gearbox of David Coulthard's McLaren in front of him. Out goes Zanardi from his pit stop. 8th position, he was in. And John Lacey should have got past him. Now, Coulthard, you see, held up by Deniz.
He lost a second and a bit that lap.
And he lost a full second in that lap. And the gap is just over 1 second. Michael Schumacher driving a superb race.
Oh yes, this is when he really shows up, when it counts. He's putting massive pressure on David at the right time.
Well, Irvine has been in, Coulthard has not been in. We're on lap 31. I can tell you, I look out across the pit lane and I can see that the Ferrari mechanics are coming out, and that will be therefore for Michael Schumacher in 2nd position. And it's at that point where David Coulthard really needs to put the pressure on and try and increase his lead.
That's right, whoever goes in first has got the disadvantage, I believe, because the other one then has to try and get a bit of a gap so he can come in and come out in front. But it's really how quick they are at the end of the run.
And of course it's then down to the team mechanics. They've all been drilling. You saw how a pit stop work sequence before this race began, and very impressive it was too. And both the McLaren and the Ferrari teams are excellent. But David Coulthard's got a slow man in front of him. This could badly affect him. It's Marc Genet. And now in comes Schumacher. James Allen, he's all yours.
Thank you very much, Murray. In comes Michael, really hot. Usually it's the guy who stays out on the circuit at this period who has the advantage. Hakkinen did it at the Nürburgring last year. It's a very similar race. No clock there, we can't tell you. 6.9. 75 kilos went in there. They put a lighter fuel load in. That was an earlier stop than Michael needed to make, but he's ready to go through to the end of the race. Very, very finely balanced, this one.
Yeah, I think that although Coulthard has now got past Marc Genet, it may just have slowed him enough to tip the balance in Michael Schumacher's favour. 6.9 seconds is a mighty quick pit stop.
Right, I'm watching his times around the different sectors, and he still looks like he's on pace. So I don't think he lost much time.
Takagi down in 15th place, getting that stop-go penalty. It won't really affect the race, except that it should mean that Marc Genet will move ahead of him. He might not even do that because he's well back. The last man on the circuit that's running at the present moment is Marc Genet, and there is Takagi out of the race. I think it looked like Takagi to me. He's decided that he won't take his 10-second penalty. Johnny Herbert comes in, and Herbert comes in from 5th position in the points. So both the Stewarts are now in the points, or they were when Johnny came in. I'm just trying to work out whether he will have lost his place. Yes, he will have lost his place to Frentzen, and it is Tora Takagi who is out of the race. So we now only have 15 of the 22 competitors left, and Rubens Barrichello is tight up behind
David Coulthard. And David did a slow lap that last lap, which is going to hurt him tremendously, because now is the time he absolutely has to get in the hottest laps he can. This is as much of qualifying now, these next few laps, as qualifying is.
Precisely so, but I have to say that the master tactician in Formula One, in my opinion, is Ross Brawn, who is the Ferrari technical director. He's worked with Michael Schumacher at Benetton and made him world champion 2 years in succession, 94 and 95. He went across to Ferrari at Michael Schumacher's behest, and he's got a wonderfully acute and astute tactical brain. And it could well be that he made the right decision to bring Michael Schumacher in a bit earlier. We're on lap 33 now, 29 laps left in the race. We're over half distance. David Coulthard, of course, has increased his lead to some 20 seconds, but it takes all of that for a pit stop, and he needs to have, in my opinion, a lead of over 20 seconds in order to have a chance of preserving his lead. Is this the second BAR going out with Mika Salo at the wheel, slowing down? But now on lap 34, race order, David Coulthard, 19 seconds, and he's ahead of Michael Schumacher, who's had his stop. And Michael Schumacher on fresh tyres is flying. He's just made the fastest lap of the race, faster than Mika Häkkinen, 1:28.8, which of course is half a second faster than the fastest lap last year. And Michael Schumacher, like everybody, is on 4 groove front tyres, whereas last year they only had 3 grooves. What's the difference? Apart from 1 groove, less grip. And still, Michael Schumacher can go faster than last year.
He's flying. They have to bring David in now, unless they're on a one-stop strategy. I can't see him winning the race if they keep him going this slowly when Michael's going so fast.
Well, he's on the hard tyres. There's no doubt about the fact that he could do the whole race on one set of tyres, because it's not that the tyres won't last the race, if anybody thinks that. It is that the grip is not as good as it is on fresh tyres. So it's a very fine balancing point between coming in and changing a set or not. And we're going to know who's got the solution, the best solution, very shortly. Through for another lap goes David Coulthard. He's on his 35th lap now in this 62-lap race. But the lead has come down to 18.6 seconds as Schumacher on fresh tyres in comparison with Coulthard on worn tyres is closing in on the McLaren ahead. Eddie Irvine is still third. Rubens Barrichello is back into 4th position after Frentzen and Hill have stopped. Frentzen is 5th in the Jordan. Damon Hill is 6th in the Jordan. So 2 Ferraris and 2 Jordans in the top 6. And that's great news for Jordan, who are fighting for 3rd place in the Constructors' Championship. As McLaren come out of the pit, the McLaren mechanics come out, they're getting ready to bring David Coulthard in. Michael Schumacher's stop took 6.9 seconds. If David Coulthard takes longer than that, he's going to be in trouble.
I think he's going to be in trouble.
There are the mechanics. They're all ready. At the front jack, the rear jack, as Zanardi comes towards us. He's in 9th position ahead of Jean Alesi's Sauber. 15 cars and drivers left in the San Marino Grand Prix, and this is the man that everybody is watching. James Allen, he's entering the pit lane.
Well, David Coulthard had a 2.6 second lead over Michael Schumacher before Schumacher made that stop. David Coulthard now in the pit lane, and 6.9 the target, 18.3 seconds Coulthard's lead before he came in this time round, and I don't think that's enough to get back out in the lead. There's a little bit of confusion at the back end. It definitely wasn't quite as quick as the Ferrari guys. Now Schumacher took it slightly easier on the full tanks. Watch out for Coulthard's brakes later in the race.
James, let me have it. Schumacher takes the lead. It's too long. But it took 3 seconds longer than the Ferrari stop. And what is more, Michael Schumacher has slashed his way through the traffic. And David Coulthard has got 2 cars between him. And there they are. There is Schumacher making his way through the traffic as David Coulthard exits the pits. This could be the turning point of the race.
I think it is. Michael was going so quickly coming up when he put those new tyres on. David wasn't getting the times out, and as you could see, the pit stop was a little slower. And I think that's what it's about in these races.
Well, in the past, the Ferrari team had a bit of a reputation for being slightly chaotic. Not anymore, not anymore. Under the tutelage of Ross Brawn in particular, and Jean Todt, the French team manager in particular, they have really got their disciplined act together. And that is Jean Alesi, to Pedro Diniz, my apologies, nearly taking Eddie Irvine off as Fisichella comes into the pits, where on lap 36 we have a new leader in the form of Michael Schumacher. David Coulthard is down to 2nd place, Eddie Irvine is 3rd, and Irvine is catching Coulthard in front of him. Barrichello is 4th in the Stewart, Frentzen is 5th, and Hill is 6th in the Jordans. 7th is Giancarlo Fisichella, and the Ferrari flags are waving all around me in the grandstand as the Tifosi stand up and cheer their hero, Michael Schumacher. Wow.
I'm sure he can feel that or see that in his view. The crowd standing up when he goes into the lead. It's an incredible sight in front of us in the grandstand here.
Well, Michael Schumacher leads, David Coulthard second. We're going to leave. Join us again soon. Physically, considerably hurt mentally, and David Coulthard there, the third of these cars, can't get past Olivier Panis, who is battling with the blue Benetton of Fisichella, which is in 10th position, and David Coulthard is dropping back, a second a lap. He's now nearly 10 seconds behind Michael Schumacher, and he goes through and takes Panis. Now he's got to close up on Fisichella. I think Olivier moved over, actually, and led him through there. Yeah, we saw Ron Dennis. You will have seen him running down the pit lane, and he went to have a little friendly chat with his ex-driver, Alain Prost, and I guess the gist of it would have been, come on, Alan, give us a break. Tell your chap to move over and let David through. He is, after all, a lap ahead of him, and he's not going to gain anything by holding him back. But the man who has gained, of course, is Michael Schumacher, because David Coulthard has still got to get past Fisichella, who is in 10th position, and nearly a full lap behind him. David trying very hard, too hard. Panis goes through again.
Locked up brakes there, just went straight off. And he's not doing quick times either. He's really battling with this new set of tyres. Doesn't look good.
Jody, we always, in the commentary box, you can't tell what's happening. You say, oh, that was very ragged. He may have a problem. He may have a gearbox problem. He may have a brake problem.
Well, it looked like he locked up his left front brake coming into the corner, couldn't release it. You have the decision to make. Do you let it off and put your power on and get around? And sometimes you can't. You just got to keep on slowing it down. And if it doesn't lock up, and he went straight.
Well,
Understeered
meantime,
off.
very quickly, before we go to James Allen, I can tell you that Eddie Irvine in third position is catching David Coulthard. There is a prospect at the present moment of a Ferrari 1-2. James, what's the news?
Well, I mentioned at Coulthard's stop that I thought that Michael had been taking it a little bit easy in the opening stages. Of course, then at that point in the race, the cars are filled with fuel, 85, 90 kilos of fuel on board, and that's when the brakes take the real hammering. Michael was taking it a little bit gingerly at the start compared to the two McLarens, and now I was wondering whether or not the McLaren brakes would start to go off as a result of the pace Coulthard was pushing at, and maybe we're starting to see that's definitely the first sign of a long brake pedal for Coulthard, which allowed Panis to get back in front of him.
Well, whatever it is, David Coulthard is back in exactly the position that he was before, as you rightly point out, James. He's got to fight to get past Panis again, and he's still got to get past Fisichella, and all the time, there he is, the race leader, Michael Schumacher, riding the curbs, which the Ferrari does extremely well, is pulling away from him. It's over 13 seconds now. That was Norbert Haug, the Mercedes boss. And David Coulthard, still, you see, he can't get past the Prost, which can't get past the Benetton, and the Benettons qualified well down in 16th and 17th places. Fisichella's lapping in 1 minute 32.9. and Schumacher is lapping in 1 minute 29, and the gap is up to nearly 16 seconds now between race leader Michael Schumacher on lap 41 and David Coulthard.
Do you think Ron's going to go down and do another visit to old Alan?
Well, he needs to make a couple of visits. He said, well, there we are, Panis has got the message again, and David Coulthard recovers, but he needs to stay on the track. And now, you're right, Ron may be legging it down to talk to Joanne Villadel-Prat or Pat Simmons, who are the top people in the Benetton team on the pit lane, to ask them to tell Fisichella to move over. You may think that's not cricket, but it isn't cricket anyway, it's motor racing, and David Coulthard with Fisichella effectively a lap behind him wouldn't be unreasonable if he was saying on the radio to Ron Dennis, for heaven's sake, tell them to get Fisichella out of my way so that I can attack this chap. Michael Schumacher, lap 42. Schumacher goes faster again. He's really going for it. 1 minute 28.6, which is 7/10 of a second faster than his fastest lap last year. 1 minute 29.34.
And that's the quickest
David Coulthard's done it, and Panis is thumped by Fisichella. Olivier Panis is having a terrible 1999.
I thought it was David Coulthard for a second, but it wasn't. So Michael has just set the fastest lap of the race, which is the first time he's gone quicker than Mika had gone early on.
Yeah, that's because you see, Michael Schumacher's going through this field like a hot knife through butter. He's right up to Damon Hill, who is running 6th. He's lapped everybody except the 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd and 2nd place men. And Damon Hill is 63 seconds in 6th position behind Michael Schumacher on lap 42. 63 seconds behind in a lap which is taking 88 seconds. So it looks as though if Michael Schumacher goes for the rest of the race as he has gone so far, he's certainly going to lap Damon Hill. But both the Jordans are in the top 6 on 3 World Championship Constructors points. Rubens Barrichello, an excellent 4th for the Stewart team, and Barrichello's already had a 5th place in Australia, where he led the race very convincingly indeed, the first race of the year. And then 5th and 6th position, Frentzen and Hill. There's the Benetton team ready to receive Fisichella with Woods out of the race long ago. The retirements, in order of retirement, Jacques Villeneuve, who had that gear engagement problem. Jarno Trulli went off, Alexander Wurz out of the race, as are Pedro de la Rosa in the Arrows. And Hakkinen, of course, with his crash. Ralf Schumacher went off the track. Tora Takagi spun out. And there are 15 left now out of the 22 that started.
What I can't understand is why is Michael pushing it so much now? He really has the race wrapped up, but you know, I suppose that's Michael, that's his style.
Yeah, I think so. They get you. Well, who should know better than you? You get into the rhythm, and they tell me, Jody. I mean, I've never done it, but they tell me that you can lose concentration if you slow down too much.
I think that's right, but you don't want to be pushing going over the curves. I think that gets a little bit tricky. You want to be pushing just so you're not hurting the car.
Well, let's watch him now. Just let's it go out onto the curb there. Here's a replay. And
very polite.
Yeah, well, a bit too polite, running right off the track to let Michael Schumacher through. Lap 44, 62-lap race. There's the comparison, you see. Michael Schumacher continues to lap dramatically quicker than David Coulthard, who is now 20 seconds behind, 20 seconds behind. And Eddie Irvine is 17 seconds behind David Coulthard. It's making things look very good indeed from Ferrari's point of view. The Sauber, Pedro Diniz, he's way down in 15th position. He has already been lapped. He's been lapped 3 times. Janet's been lapped twice, Badar's been lapped twice, and everybody else up to Damon Hill has been lapped once. And looking at this stage of the race, as we see Eddie Irvine tearing off a visor strip, obviously getting dirty, clearing his vision. Well, there's no doubt about it. I'm just working out the drivers' championship points, assuming, probably wrongly, that they all stay where they are now. But Michael Schumacher's on 10 World Championship points at the moment, which would give him 16. Eddie Irvine is on 4 World Championships points, which would give him 16. We're facing the prospect at the present moment of 2 Ferrari drivers being jointly in the lead of the Drivers' Championship, and Ferrari themselves having a very secure lead of some 10 points in the Constructors' Championship. But there are still 18 laps to go as the Ferrari mechanics get ready to bring in Eddie Irvine, who was putting on a burst. It's his 2nd stop. Now, are Michael Schumacher and David Coulthard coming in again? Yes, they are certainly going to be coming in again. But Michael Schumacher is almost in the situation now where he can come in, make his change and just get out in the lead, which would more or less sign and seal things for David Coulthard, assuming the Ferrari stays as reliable as it has been. James, here's Irvine.
Schumacher.
It's Schumacher.
So that's why he was pushing
surprise.
it. Yeah, that's why he was pushing it. I mean, now it starts to make sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, Michael Schumacher came in. We were expecting Eddie Irvine. Very, very quick stop indeed. And Michael Schumacher was 21.8 seconds ahead, and he's got ahead of the traffic, and he's got ahead of David Coulthard. Well, that's another brilliant bit of timing, because you're shaking your head. You don't agree?
Well, no, I think it's absolutely right. I mean, I think they've just pulled it out of the bag with the strategy they had. I mean, I certainly wasn't on top of it.
I think Ross Brawn has read this race to perfection. He just got Schumacher in. Now look at it, you see, here he is on a replay exiting the pit lane as 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th car of David Coulthard, and the Ferrari mechanics realise that that stop could well have won the San Marino Grand Prix for them. They congratulate each other, and rightly so, as Michael Schumacher on a fresh set of Bridgestones, nice grippy boots, comes out to his 46th lap now, this 62-lap race. The man who finished 2nd in Brazil, and 8th position in Australia. We'll stay with Schumacher. You're going to leave him for a moment, but join us soon. Like Michael Schumacher leads on lap 48 of the San Marino Grand Prix. And Eddie, that's a Ferrari number 4. That is Eddie Irvine. He was third. He is out of the race. What happened to Eddie Irvine? Well, all I can tell you is that the Ferrari is out. It looks like an engine problem. Here's a replay. Eddie Irvine rolling to a standstill with smoke pouring from the back of the V10 engine. That is it, out of the race. And that means to say that, and there is Frentzen. And Frentzen was running in 5th position. Now, Damon Hill is up into 3rd place. Rubens Barrichello is up into 4th place. And up into 5th position comes Johnny Herbert, followed by Alex Zanardi in the Williams. Well, what a couple of developments. 2 top 6 men out. Michael Schumacher, and you have to worry, Jody, when you see one car go out in a team, you have to worry about the other one.
That's right. I think Michael now he's got to back off, drop his revs a little bit. Mind you, David's still in striking distance, but I would say he want to be just trying to drop the revs a little bit, because if he has the same engine or the same rev of an engine, it could happen to him as well, and maybe he can save it a little bit.
Well, there is David Coulthard, who has yet to make that second stop that we're expecting. And he will have seen Eddie Irvine's car stationary by the side of the road. And if I can work out that one Ferrari going out could mean that the other will go out, David Coulthard is more than capable of doing the same thing. So that will have heartened him enormously. The gap between them is about 6 seconds, and James Allen has got some Ferrari news.
Well, Murray, I'm down in the Ferrari garage with Claudio Barrow, team spokesman. Claudio, what happened to Eddie?
Exactly, I don't know why I don't have information in the radio, but I watched the TV, and the TV I think is a classic broke. And then I look the French car in spin after Eddie, I think so. The problem is in the angel gear, but it's sure they are problem.
And you think Frentzen...
They are all in the track.
Yeah, so you think Frentzen went off on the oil. Okay, thanks a lot, Claudio.
Well, lap 49, Damon Hill moves up into the podium position of 3rd place. He's yet to score a point in 1999. He desperately needs some. I've been saying that 3 men had slightly tarnished reputations when this race began. Alex Zanardi, Damon Hill and David Coulthard. Well, David Coulthard is running 2nd, but you just see the McLaren behind Michael Schumacher. Damon Hill is running 3rd. Alex Zanardi is in 7th position, because up into 6th place now, as a result of Zanardi's pit stop, has come Giancarlo Fisichella in the Benetton. We certainly didn't expect that at the beginning of this race, after they had a very, very bad practice and qualifying period. And Rubens Barrichello is in 4th place. Both the stewards in the top 6. Order again. Schumacher, lap 50, leads by 7 seconds. He leads that man, David Coulthard. Damon Hill has been lapped, but he's 3rd. Rubens Barrichello is 4th, 11 seconds behind Hill. Johnny Herbert is 5th in the Stewart, 24 seconds behind Barrichello. Fisichella is 6th, Zanardi is 7th, Alesi is 8th. Mika Salo running well in the sole remaining BAR is 9th, ahead of Olivier Panis and Luca Badar. Out of the pits goes Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Goes Damon Hill. Frentzen already out of the race, of course. We've just seen him retire. Luca Badar is 11th. Marc Genet is 12th. And there are 12 runners left out of the 22 who started, as we look at Rubens Barrichello closing up on Damon Hill. Now, Barrichello has got the new Ford Cosworth V10 engine, which is the smallest, allegedly, the lightest, allegedly, and certainly one of the 2 most powerful. They just got to make it reliable. It's been reliable in this race, as has Johnny Herbert's. They're running at reduced revs in comparison with qualifying. And out goes Panis, Olivier Panis, from 10th position. Well, the mice are getting at the machinery now. I wonder how many are going to finish.
If we get back to the tactics of Ferraris, I mean, it really seemed to demoralize David when Michael went out and was going so quickly, and you really thought it was all over. But then he came in for a stop, so if David could have stayed up with him, he could have had a chance, but what a tactic.
Well, we've got 12 laps now, and Michael Schumacher is about 6.5 seconds ahead of Coulthard, but in the previous lap, Coulthard took half a second out of the Ferrari. Now, you never know in this situation whether the car leading has got a minor problem or whether the driver is just being extremely intelligent and pacing himself to the end of the race. In this situation, with the gap now under 6 seconds, as you see from that caption, I would have thought it was the latter, but Michael Schumacher was pacing himself. But there's still some way to go. We're on lap 52. Michael Schumacher leads David Coulthard by just under 6 seconds. Barrichello is third ahead of Damon Hill. Johnny Herbert is fifth. Fisichella is sixth. We're going to a break. We enter the closing stages of the San Marino Grand Prix with two fascinating battles. There is Michael Schumacher. He's 5 seconds ahead of David Coulthard, but Coulthard has got the bit between his teeth. He is really flying. He is closing on Schumacher, but what we don't know is whether Schumacher is letting him do it, conscious of the fact that he's only got 9 laps left to go. And the second battle is between Rubens Barrichello, who is now in 3rd position in the Stewart, and Damon Hill, who is 4th and catching the Brazilian in the Stewart. Johnny Herbert is still in 5th position. He's been lapped. Only 4 drivers are on the same lap, as off goes Pedro Diniz in the Sauber, and he was in 12th position. But Damon Hill is reading in Rubens Barrichello. Johnny Herbert is still 5th. Giancarlo Fisichella is catching Herbert. And 7th position, Alex Zanardi is catching Fisichella. So it's all happening. Now, are we going to see a Ferrari victory here at Imola? I think the last one was Patrick Tambay here in 1983, a long, long time ago. And the Tifosi, oh, now, Schumacher has got to get past Marc Genet. Oh, and he's done it. A really hard, incisive bit of passing.
Oh, he's got to be pushing it now, but, I mean, it's getting tough. If David can really go a lot faster, he's just gone faster again by not enough. He's got to do really a half a second a lap quicker to get right on the tail of Michael, and then there's the problem of passing him.
Yeah, Eddie Irvine is with Louise Goodman.
Eddie, what put you out?
Just lost power, and then something it seemed terminal. I was down a bit on power, and then all of a sudden it just let go. So
an engine failure.
Looks like.
You lost your championship lead.
Not yet.
No, he's absolutely right, because Michael Schumacher's still Eddie, ever the truthful pragmatist. He's absolutely right, because Michael Schumacher has still got 9 laps to go, including the one, 8 laps to go, including the one that he's on. But if Schumacher wins this race, he will take the World Championship lead from Eddie Irvine, and we will certainly have a Ferrari in the lead, Ferrari driver in the lead, and a Ferrari driver in second place in the Drivers' World Championship. And Ferrari, of course, extending their lead in the Constructors' World Championship, with Schumacher ahead of Coulthard. But that's still got to happen. We're on lap 55. The crowd is agog. They're praying as hard as they can for their man to come home first in the Ferrari, as Coulthard nips in front of Marc Genet. But this should mean that Schumacher's lead has been increased, and it has, because Genet held Coulthard up more than he held Schumacher.
Right, I think if there's going to be the big finish, it's going to be between Hill and Barrichello. Hill's catching him quite consistently now. What is he, 2 seconds, 1.9 seconds behind him. So this could be interesting. Again, he's got to get past. Not going to be easy. But I think that's where the action's going to be.
Well, only one constructor has got both cars in a point-scoring position. It's Stewart with the new Ford engine. Enormous encouragement for Ford, who've decided to put all their energies in Formula One behind the Stewart team to really concentrate on them. And those two drivers are Rubens Barrichello, who's third, being caught by Damon Hill. There is Barrichello, there is Hill, and there is Schumacher. So you're seeing the third, fourth and first men in the picture at the same time. Now this is going to give David Coulthard an opportunity to close up, because there's not all that much difference in time, lap time, between Damon Hill, who's lapping in about 1 minute 30.3, and Schumacher, who's lapping in 1 minute 30.1. And it would therefore need Damon Hill to move over and let Schumacher through.
And which I don't think will happen.
No, they're not. He's not his best friend.
No, he's not his best friend, and also he's trying to gain a place. Mind you, I think Michael's too quick. There he goes.
We're both wrong. We're both wrong. And Damon could have held him back there if he'd had a mind to, but he's done the sporting thing and moved over. Now perhaps Michael will give him a bit of a tow up to Rubens Barrichello in the white Stewart. We're on lap 57. Louise Goodman is with Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
Heinz-Harald, there were some suggestions that you might have gone off on Eddie Irvine's oil. Was that the case?
Well, I don't think there's other reason that I spin off in the middle of the straight. And unfortunately, there was no marshal signing me any danger of oil or anything. And disappointing.
So an accident that you feel shouldn't have happened?
Well, I mean, accident happens in Formula One. That is possible. No, unfortunately, I was going to have good points this race as well, and only the marshal wasn't quick enough today to react. That would have saved me some points.
Bad luck, Heinz-Harald.
Come on, Heinz-Harald, tell them what you really think. Being the gentleman as ever, lovely chap, but out of the race, and that's only one Jordan is going to finish, if provided Damon Hill does. There he is in the background. Lap 57. So 58, 59, 61 and 2 to go. Michael Schumacher is being caught again by David Coulthard, but David has got to get past Damon Hill. I'm sure Damon won't make it difficult. He'll know what the situation is. He'll recognise the McLaren. He'll know it's his friend David Coulthard. There he is. The gap is down to 4.7 seconds. It was a mighty close finish last year, but the positions were reversed. David Coulthard was leading Michael Schumacher. Schumacher was catching Coulthard, who'd got a bit of a problem. And the gap at the end of the race was just 5 seconds only between David Coulthard, who won it, and Michael Schumacher, who was in second place. Lap 58.
Jackie must be very happy if you think that his cars were leading the race in Brazil. and now they've got both cars in the points. You don't have to think back very far to think how good he must be feeling.
No, and people don't realise and don't give credit for the fact that getting a Formula One team going at all is a mighty difficult job. Getting it up to race, podium and even winning speed is a terrific job. I know Jackie sold forward on the concept of a 5-year plan. Well, he's up on the podium on the third year. Tremendous achievement. More news from Ferrari, James Allen.
Well, let's just put this strategy thing to bed once and for all. It caught us all by surprise, Michael Schumacher's second stop, but I've just had it confirmed from Ferrari. This was their original strategy. The idea was to run long on the first stop and then put in 2 lightish fuel loads to protect the brakes at the middle and the end of the race, but of course they made it look like they were on a one-stopper in the early stages. It was a flexible strategy designed to take in whatever Häkkinen and Coulthard might have done. But what was interesting about it was it demoralised both Coulthard and McLaren. When Schumacher got out in front after those first stops, the sort of shoulders dropped at McLaren, DC's shoulders too, no doubt, in the cockpit. It's been a fascinating strategic battle today.
I must agree. I was thinking exactly the same. He really what they did is demoralise David out there. Although I'm not sure he's having a little bit of handling problems, but still, I agree with you, absolutely.
He's now 4.4 seconds behind the car you're looking at, Michael Schumacher, but he's got Damon Hill in front of him and he's got Rubens Barrichello in front of him. And I just do not believe that, provided the Ferrari keeps going, and it's always a big provided in any race, but David Coulthard can get past Hill, catch Barrichello, get past him and catch Michael Schumacher, never mind get past the brilliant German. It's on lap 59 now. There's only 3 laps to go at the end of this one, each of them of 3.06 miles. So under 10 miles to go for Michael Schumacher for his first win of 1999. I must be very careful. That would be, there you see, there is Barrichello, third, Hill fourth, Coulthard in second position, race leader Michael Schumacher. But you see what I'm talking about when I talk about the sandwich. The sandwich is Barrichello and Hill, and the bread is Schumacher's Ferrari and David Coulthard's McLaren in the background. And Michael Schumacher is on his 60th lap. His people in the pit lane will be talking to him, telling him on the radio exactly what the situation is.
Yes, I think it's fairly safe as long as the cars finish without a problem. Well, it's certainly looking like Ferrari's going to win. I said it in the beginning for very much the wrong reasons, but still, Ferrari must be very happy winning in Italy if they can.
Well, they haven't, because out goes Johnny Herbert. The engine has let go. Bad luck indeed. Now let's hope that Rubens Barrichello can keep going. That means that Fisichella moves up into 5th position, and Alex Zanardi has Paul Stewart on the right, Jackie Stewart, his father, on the left. Look at the monitors. You can see what the problem is easily enough. Let's hope that he hasn't dropped any oil on the corner. Well, there's something.
I think he has, yes. Yeah. Oh, it was pouring out the side of the radiator, some liquid there.
Well, they
looked more like water than oil.
Yeah, the flag marshals need to do a pretty nifty job, but meantime, David Coulthard is now... Michael Schumacher is on his 61st lap, this one and the next one, and there's still Barrichello, Hill, Coulthard, 4.3 seconds behind. It's not a question of time so much as the distance that David has got between him and Michael Schumacher left to try to get past Damon Hill, and it looks to me as though there's absolutely no chance that he's going to do it. So we have a new 5th position driver in Giancarlo Fisichella. All the hard work that Benetton did overnight to try to make their car handle better has paid off in the end analysis, and a Sauber looks as though it's going to finish in 6th place, driven by Jean Alesi, the very popular French driver, and Alesi has yet to score points this year. In fact, he's yet to finish in a race this year, because he failed to finish in Australia, failed to finish in Brazil. Michael Schumacher dropping down to the Revezza from a speed of 180 miles an hour. Yeah, it's Zanardi in the Williams out of the race, and I suspect he went off on oil.
Yes.
Because he was going beautifully steadily, and I think it was Johnny Herbert's liquid that was dropped that I said the marshals need to get out quickly, but whatever, Zanardi is out of the race, and that means to say that Mika Salo comes up into, Alesi comes up into 6th position. Mika Salo looks as though he's going to finish just out of the points, but with just about half a lap to go before Italy erupts, Michael Schumacher looks as though he's coming home for his 34th Grand Prix victory, his first of the year, to rivet Ferrari's lead in the Constructors' Championship, to move up into 2nd equal position with Mika Häkkinen and Heinz-Harald Frentzen. So there will be 3 people in 2nd position in the Drivers' Championship and only 2 points covering the top 4. What an absolutely fabulous thought as we go to Monaco for the around the houses race in the Principality in a fortnight's time on May the 16th. Look at the Ferrari banners going. And Mika Salo is out of the race. I can tell you he's being pushed down the pit lane as Michael Schumacher comes down to the Traguardo for the last time. Round turn 16, turn 17, to win the San Marino Grand Prix. Fist aloft, a gesture of victory. A wonderful win for Michael Schumacher and Ferrari, and the Ferrari team are justifiably, absolutely euphoric. Well, it was not to be McLaren's race after all. Mika Häkkinen out very early. A brilliant strategy. I think that's what sewed it up for Schumacher with his skill and experience.
I mean, you look at it now to the first sort of quarter of the race when Mika was just dominating it, and you see what happens. The Ferraris must be very, very happy, and you must say that Michael looks tough. He looks really tough to do the championship, although the McLarens were very, very fast at the beginning.
Well, there's no doubt about it. It's the conventional wisdom that he's the finest driver of his day. He's proved it today, not only by winning the race the way he has, but his dominance once he had taken the lead. And he leads the Drivers' Championship now by 4 points. As I expected, Ferrari drivers are 1st and 2nd, with Eddie Irvine 4 points behind his team leader, 2nd in the championship, ahead of Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Mika Häkkinen, tying for 3rd place on 10 points. Ralf Schumacher is in 5th place, 1 point ahead of David Coulthard, who finishes 2nd, but a rather bitter defeat, I think, for David. He drove his heart out, as he always does, but the superior tactics and, frankly, the superior speed and reliability, there's the story of the race. Mika Häkkinen's shattered McLaren lying by the side of the road after he had pushed so hard to get a 20-second lead, only to go off. And I'm expecting a crowd invasion here, although it's going to be very difficult for them on account of the fact that there's netting all the way round. But
not in Italy. It's not difficult for them to get through a bit of barbed wire.
Well, here we are. There's the Ferrari, and Michael Schumacher wins the San Marino Grand Prix for the 2nd time. 1st in 1994 for Benetton, 2nd last year, 2nd the year before, 1st in 1999, brilliantly to take those 10 vital World Championship points. And of course, in the process, to go into the lead in the World Championship. Michael joined Ferrari to lead their renaissance. He said he could have had more money, believe it or not. He's paid about £25 million a year. He could have made more money somewhere else. He said it wasn't the money, it was the thought of being able to lead Ferrari back to where he believes they ought to be, at the front. Well, he's showing every sign of doing it. This is a Ferrari renaissance, a Ferrari revival. Italy will be overjoyed. Ferrari fans all around the world will be overjoyed, particularly with the knowledge that they now lead the Constructors' Championship by a massive 12 points after only 3 races from McLaren. Jordan are in 3rd place, where they want to finish the championship at worst and beat McLaren if they can. They're only 3 points behind McLaren, and they are 6 points ahead of Williams, who are 4th, and 7 points ahead of Benetton, who are 5th, with Jackie Stewart's team in a fine 6th position on 4 World Championship points. The top 11, because only 11 finished here out of the 22 who started, 50%. Michael Schumacher wins by 4.2 seconds from David Coulthard. Ferrari beats McLaren. Barrichello 3rd, 1 lap down, just ahead, less than a second ahead of Damon Hill, who gets his first World Championship points of the year. Giancarlo Fisichella finishes 5th and gets 2 points for Benetton. Jean Alesi in 6th position, Sauber's World Championship points. 7th position, Mika Salo, 1 lap down, ahead of Luca Badoer and Marc Genet. Both the Minardis finished, although 3 laps down. And I think Johnny Herbert will be classified, but Michael Schumacher, the overjoyed winner. Thumbs up to Italy.
You can just see the joy in his hands when he was putting his hand up in the car and the way he's doing it. I think this is a hard-earned victory, and he knows it.
This is the 67th time, bit of statistics for you, in 120 races that Michael Schumacher has been on the podium. More than 50% of his races he's been in the top 3.
Incredible, incredible. Certainly getting to be one of the best of all time. I don't think he's there yet, in my opinion, but he's certainly the best at the moment.
Ex-Ferrari driver Jean Alesi. Michael forever, says Italy. Well, they won't be changing their mind after today as he gets on the scales, as they have to do. The first 3 always have to get on the scales because the cars are weighed, the drivers are weighed, and if their joint weights are less than a mandatory figure, they're in trouble. But it won't be with Ferrari and Michael Schumacher. Well, I can tell you that a very, very happy Italian crowd are starting to go home in front of me, particularly as they see Mika Häkkinen's broken McLaren being transported down the pit straight in front of them. And that really rubs salt into the McLaren wounds. Not at all a good start for McLaren. No finishers in Australia. 1 finisher, admittedly the winner, in Brazil. Only 1 finisher, admittedly 2nd place in San Marino at Imola, David Coulthard. But McLaren had 3 years in the wilderness after they lost Honda engines. They'll fight back, they'll get stuck in. Ron Dennis says there is only one recipe for lack of success, and that is a lot of very hard work. And they know what that is all about at Woking. But then Ferrari know exactly the same thing. It looks as though we're in for a wonderful rest of the season.
Yes, and Murray, I just want to thank you. It's been really good fun working with the whole team from ITV. I've really enjoyed it. And the people that are going to write into Autosport insulting me, don't bother. I know how bad I was.
Oh, nonsense, Jody. Really nice to have you with us. Well, now we wait for the podium ceremony, and the very happy Rubens Barrichello up there. It's been a great race for Stewart. They nearly had two drivers in the top 6. Well, it's lovely to see Michael Schumacher. There's the famous Schumacher leap. There's a man who's always happy to show that he's pleased to have won the race. Not everybody is like that. Some of them look as though they've lost it. But now the German national anthem rings out for Michael Schumacher, winner at Imola. considerable difference in reactions between second place David Coulthard and winner Michael Schumacher as the Italian national anthem rings out for Ferrari. Tactician Michael Schumacher wins for Ferrari in Italy. A very appropriate result. Ferrari drivers lead the Drivers' Championship. Ferrari leads the Constructors' Championship. And there's a mighty big trophy for Michael to take home to his home in Switzerland. He'll need an even bigger trophy cabinet for that one. David Coulthard takes the trophy for second place. It could have been so much better, but it was destined not to be.
Murray, is it going to be a dominance, or at least a repeat of last year when the McLarens dominate in speed and Ferrari seems to pull them out all the time?
Well, they certainly seem to be going that way, Jody. Ferrari have got the reliability, and who knows better than you that to get points you've got to finish in the race. Yes, you've got to finish at the highest possible speed, but Ferrari did it last year, as you rightly point out, and on reliability, and they may well do it again.
Murray, thank you very much indeed, and special thanks to Jody Scheckter. Don't underestimate yourself, Jody. You're welcome back anytime. Jody Scheckter, the last man to win the world title for Ferrari 20 years ago. Is this finally going to be Ferrari's year? They were certainly due a win here, as we have a little look at the start once again. When you rejoin us in a few minutes' time, we'll be looking back at all the key moments of the race. There'll be interviews as well. There is still a lot to discuss about Ferrari's triumph at San Marino. We will be right back.
Congratulations, gentlemen, the top three at the San Marino Grand Prix. Michael, a fantastic drive, but what we have to ask you is, were you always on a two-stop strategy, or was it like Hungary last year and you've changed mid-race?
To be honest, the way we did it, we had the option to go either way, and if we would have gone to a clear one-stop strategy, it would have meant we would have stuck behind. As he was staying out, there was no chance to overtake, so there was no big risk to go for a two-stopper and at least try and see what happens. And we did it. I mean, Ross is obviously fantastic in that, but I'd say this weekend, if at all, it was a team victory. I mean, we worked very hard all the last couple of weeks to come back here at Imola Grand Prix. We knew we were lacking performance the first 2 races, but we knew as well the championship can't go that way if we want to win it, and so we had to turn it around. And this weekend, I guess to some extent we turned it around. We were close in qualifying, we worked fast in race condition, and obviously thanks to the team, because they've done a great job, strategy-wise, car performance-wise, everything. And I hope it makes up for the 2 bad races we had in the beginning of the season. I hope people will forgive me for that.
Now, the middle section of the race, you went very, very hard, but you had a lot of traffic problems, especially with Saubers. How did you see that?
I mean, that's just the way it is here. It's difficult to overtake, to be honest. And the other guys raced their race, and I was thinking I wouldn't do it because I was so much in traffic that I couldn't really use all my performance. I knew I was on light fuel and new tyres, and I had to go for it. So it was a pretty difficult situation, but obviously difficult as well for David. And even I was stuck in traffic, I seemed still to make up the gap which I needed for the pit stop for the extra one.
Thank you, Michael. David, are you happy to have opened your account for 1999 or just disappointed to be second?
No, obviously I'm happy to come away with some points from this race. Clearly, though, I had the performance to win today, and just disappointed. You know, as Michael's already said, then it's always difficult to overtake the back markers here, but I think it was particularly, they were particularly uncooperative. When I was behind them, I lost a lot of time in the traffic, and that was the difference between coming out behind Michael or in front of him.
As it may well have cost you the win, is there anything that can be done to alleviate that from happening in the future?
I think, you know, it takes understanding from all the drivers. You know, they are running their races and they don't want to give up position, but, you know, if you're a lap down and you're being lapped, then I think you have to accept, you know, maybe a loss of half a second or so to let the leaders through. That's, you know, they may be leading a Grand Prix one day and the shoe's on the other foot.
Thanks, David. Rubens, Imola must be a circuit that holds a lot of emotion for you, but it must be nice, therefore, to have your first podium since Monaco 2 years ago here for the Stewart Ford team.
First, I want to dedicate this to my friend Ayrton Senna. I think after all I've been through, this is the place that I wish I could really finish on the podium. So I want to give this to him, whatever he is. I think this has been a great effort from the team. We have a competitive car. Obviously, it's not a quicker car than the Ferrari and then the McLaren, so we can be best of the rest. And finish on the podium here in a place where I've been hurt and my feelings being really hurt. I think it's very emotional for me, and it's a pleasure really to be here.
How much fun is it for you to finally be in a competitive car?
Well, it's the first time I am in a competitive car. As I said, I don't think we are in a degree to race the big guys still, but we're making progress, and it's just whenever you start at the top 6, you just having a good fight, and you can look after the tires, you can race yourself. I think I've been lucky today, because otherwise if the Ferrari and the other McLaren were on the track, I wouldn't finish third. But you have to have some lucky whenever you're racing.
Thank you, Rubens. Michael, you're first in the championship, Eddie second, Ferrari leading the Constructors' Championship, but do you think you're now the match for McLaren?
Obviously we have been all weekend close, but on the other side, as you had seen, we weren't really faster, but that's our target, to be faster. We were a little bit behind, and due to the strategy and traffic, we made it up. But it needs a little bit further development to be really there. But we, as you say, we're leading the championship, and we now have obviously a little bit more time and margin to do this. Last year we always were fighting like 20 points behind and making it up and then losing it again and finally lose it. This year we wanted to do it differently, and we seem to do it differently thanks to various circumstances. But they have to be, and they sometimes happen in racing. You have to use them. Let's see how it goes on. Let's see how we improve our performance, and then we can expect some further good races.
You're on a roll, and you're going to Monaco, where you always traditionally go well. You must be really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I definitely do, because last year we were struggling a little bit because of the big performance variation between the top team, McLaren, and ourselves. this year, as you see here, we're pretty close, and I expect things pretty close in Monaco. And Monaco is this special circuit. When you go well, when you have a good setup, you go particular good then, and you can make time. And I hope we can prove that again this year.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Now a word from Michael and Rubens in your own language, please.
Ja, zuallererst möchte ich mal dem Team ein Riesenkompliment aussprechen, denn die haben wirklich klasse gearbeitet über die ganzen Wochen bis hin zu diesem Grand Prix. Es hat eigentlich schon viele gegeben, die uns abgeschrieben haben, die gesagt haben, dass es dieses Jahr wieder eine Dominanz der McLaren geben würde. Und ich glaube, das haben wir mit diesem Rennen bestätigt, dass dies nicht so sein wird. Es war sicherlich schwierig, zu Anfang der Saison wieder hinnehmen zu müssen, dass wir doch relativ weit weg sind, à la Melbourne. Aber letzten Endes, glaube ich, zählen die Resultate und was rauskommt. Und was heute rausgekommen ist, sicherlich klasse. Seit 16 Jahren kein Sieg mehr in Imola. Auch mein erster Sieg mit Ferrari in Imola. Und ich möchte dem Team wirklich ein großes Dankeschön aussprechen, weil es ist deren Leistung, auch die Strategie heute wieder, die hat uns nach vorne gebracht. Also Riesenkompliment ans Team. Danke.
Rubens?